Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome again to Evolve and Elevate with Erica. I am your host, Erica Bishop, and I am so delighted to be here with you all this evening, as always, on this beautiful Monday evening. And we're so thankful for you joining us on tonight. And we have a very wonderful topic that we're going to be talking about tonight is to how to have peace in such a busy world. And we know that we have so many different things that are happening right now, and our peace is very, very important. So, as you're coming in on tonight, we're asking that you tag, you like, you share, you let someone know that we are here, and we are so grateful for you to be here with us on this wonderful Monday night. So, at this time, my special guest, Miss Alicia Johnson, is going to take a moment to introduce herself to you.
Hello, everybody. I feel like I'm just like a fixture here. I'm a fixture now. I'm so excited to be here. I am Alicia Johnson, the creator of the 1212 community, and the 1212 community is dedicated to helping everyone who chooses to learn how to recalibrate their lives 12 hours for God and 12 hours for man so that you can have the opportunity to live the full life that God has afforded you so that you can understand the power and the blessings that you possess. We do this through journaling, we do this through life path work, we do this through year cycle work, we do this through all of the modalities that the world does not want us to focus on. So that is who I am in a nutshell.
All right, Alicia, as always, thank you so much for your time, for being here with us tonight. And as I was thinking about this particular subject and thinking about peace overall, and oftentimes, as we were talking about earlier before we got started, that oftentimes there are those that think that a peaceful situation is synonymous with being at peace. And we know that that is not the case. And when I think about my journey to a place of peace and what that looked like, I first had to be real with myself and understanding that I did not have God's peace. I had what I would call to be pseudo peace.
Mm.
Um, because I had created such coping mechanisms to make me feel better in a situation, but it really wasn't God's peace. And we all know the scripture, the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard your heart and your mind. And that peace is not a feeling, it is a state of being. It is a position that you take in the spirit realm to be locked in to peace. And often when we think of how we freely give up our peace sometimes, because someone may be anxious, someone may be upset, someone may be in a stressful situation, and we find ourselves taking on things that give up our peace. So,
Mm-hmm.
as we go into this conversation, let's start with understanding what true peace is, and maybe to help someone to identify I truly have the peace of God, and what would that look like in a world
Ooh.
today?
Okay, so peace is um, not what, how can I put it? You have to be the peace. You are not, when a lot like you, for me, for the longest time, I used to equate like lack of activity with peace. Like if everything was calm, no one was arguing, everyone, it's like those woo-saw moments. And so
Hmm.
that was fleeting. That was, how can I put it? It was very frustrating because when those moments were not present, then I'm constantly thinking something is wrong, something is wrong, something is wrong. And when God began to deal with me and help me to understand it from a higher perspective, God began to help me to understand that I am the peace. Blessed are the peacemakers. You have to understand and learn what that looks like. And peace looks like peace looks like allowing everything to unfold in the way that it needs to unfold. There's a part for me to do, there's a part for you to do, there's a part for God to do. And when you are at peace, you are able, you are capable, and you are willing to allow the situations to rise and fall and to do and to complete the process. And that is a very scary, um, how can I put it, a scary process to be in if you've never done that before. Because
Mm.
that means that you're going to have to release control. If you are a controlling person, you're going to have a very hard time experiencing what true peace looks like.
And I do believe that because I was one of those people that felt that I had to be in control of every situation. And it was like, no, I got it. I can fix it. Let me think about it. Let me put a plan together. And that's one of the things when you spoke something that was very important. When you have to allow things to unfold as they should. And oftentimes when we're in that place of worry, having that spirit of worry, oh my God, what's going to happen? This doesn't look like it should be. What is the next step? What is the next plan? You will quickly disrupt your peace
Mm-hmm.
in a situation where you need to hear. Your heart needs to be postured in a certain way. And I know that as you all have followed and you have watched this broadcast, you may say, well, that's the same answer we had for something else. But see, I want you to understand something. God gives you principles in your life to allow you to be spiritually successful.
Mm.
So when you hear things more than once, and you root and ground yourself in a principle that God is giving you for your life to be successful, then you understand it works. It's something that works. So, how did you ever have an issue with being in control?
Of course not. Oh my goodness, that was my whole life. Look, I'm trying to control the narrative now because I'm like, it's not going through on my Facebook page. It's this feed or whatever. I was like, what is going on here? Anyway, you can't worry about that. But every day is a struggle. It's not something that you get over. It's something that you understand, and you. It's like for me, it's almost like the thorn in the flesh. So it's something that I have to deal with, and I consistently every hour, every half hour, every this is not yours to handle. This is not your today. Prime example. There was a report that I needed to do, and I went through another department and had somebody run it for me because I didn't want to have to go through all of those things.
Mhm.
So when I sent it to the person that was supposed to help me with the report, I said, "Will this work?" Because I'm trying to control the narrative because I don't want to do it. And she says, "No." She said, "Where'd you get this from?" So I told her. And she said, "No, I want to teach you how to do the report so you can manipulate it the way that you need to." That was not the answer I wanted. Cause see, that was one more thing that I was gonna have to do. And God told me so. As soon as I had that little exchange, I just got up and walked my block. That's how I release control. I'm gonna be fine by the end of this summer. I just get up and I walk my whole block. And by the time I come back, I've released it. But it's a day by day, a minute by minute, situation by situation scenario. So I like to say that I'm delivered from it, but
Mhm.
I'm not. but I am learning through it.
Hmm. A few moments ago, I spoke about the pseudo peace and trying to make a situation be peaceful when, as you stated before, you have to be the peace. And that's a different journey in itself as well. So as we talk about releasing control and knowing that we don't have all of the answers, we don't have all of the information, we don't know what's coming around the corner or what's the next step, we have to be the peace in order to acquire the peace and not try to always make the situation peaceful, because sometimes it in itself, you need to see what's truly happening
Hmm.
with the people around you within the situation. I have learned more and more disruptive situations just by being at peace and watching and looking and listening as the chaos, quote unquote, unfolded.
Hmm.
I was able to see the true essence of an individual, the true essence of a situation,
Amen.
so that I could adjust and move accordingly for not only for my peace, but also for my own safety and for what God was trying to reveal.
Hmm. And I think to kind of drive that point home a little bit more, when you understand what peace is, then you are more willing to allow God to complete the work. A lot of times we shortchange having the opportunity to do a complete work because we want to control the amount of fear, we want to control the amount of an inconvenience, we want to control whatever it is. And this is where a lot of people, parents, let's speak to the parenting piece. A lot of times parents don't understand peace enough to allow their children to fail. You've got to
Oh,
have
that's
peace,
good.
peace in watching your children grow, peace in watching your children make mistakes, peace in allowing your children to live. And so
That
many people clip the wings because it's like I don't want them to I don't how can I put it? You say that you don't want them to hurt, but what you're saying is that you don't want to lose that peace. Like you don't want to lose that false sense of security that you
mhm,
created, that everything is going to be okay. You don't know if
mhm.
everything's going to be okay. You have
Never.
no idea, but as long as you are trying to control it, you can fool yourself into believing that everything is going to be okay.
And that's so powerful because I had to do the same thing with my adults. And that was one of the things that I had to change was my language even with them. They are no longer my children.
Mm,
They are adults.
mm,
And I had to recognize them as adults.
right. Hmm. And that's difficult.
And in recognizing them as adults, what it did, it forced me to release them in the place of their journey because I could not control their journey. I could not control what God was doing with them because they have to learn God for themselves. And oftentimes, as parents, we want to helicopter
Hmm.
our adults and control the outcome of their situation because, one, we can start teaching them out of fear
Hmm.
of what we don't want to happen. And then, two, we don't allow them, as you said, to truly spread their wings to learn their own boundaries
Hmm.
and what works for them.
I know
And I had, go ahead.
what God told me during that time period when I was learning to release my children. God was like, "You're afraid that your parenting, that you did poor parenting." it was so like God was showing me how arrogant I was. I was saying that I want them to do, I don't want them to make mistakes. I don't want them, but in essence, I don't want them to make mistakes that people are gonna look back at me and be like, well, what did they teach them? What did they, honey? When you find and appreciate and accept that peace, you come to the conclusion that it's all good. No matter what it looks like, you know that you've done your best. You know that you have instilled in them everything that you had to share, and you are able to find peace and understanding that everyone has a choice. That's huge for
It
as
is.
a parent.
It is. And when you think about the busyness of life, you're raising children, you got stuff on the job, you may also have a business, and you may also be in a marriage. So you've got all these different components, and then you're serving maybe in ministry or in some other different type of capacity. Are you giving your time somewhere else? And you can sometimes find that all things are happening at once.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention when you get to a place where you may have to be a caregiver for a spouse.
Ooh.
Been there. And you're raising children. And it was a time in my life where I was that. I had to be the caregiver and had two small children in daycare and diapers,
Mm.
trying to work two jobs to pay all the bills.
Wow.
And you find yourself in this place and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Because you feel the weight of the busyness of everything that's pulling you. But until you get to a still place, and sometimes I think that we are so afraid to be still, to grab that place of peace,
Mm-hmm.
we find ourselves always trying to fix, do, manipulate, conjure up, mix up, prop up stuff that God said, you know what, just let it be. Just let it fall where it may and let me put it back together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is where most people fail, because the way that society is set up and the way that we are conditioned, honey, we want to filter everything. We want to filter everything. And if you can't control the narrative, if you can't control what people think, if you can't control, then you're going to look foolish. Like you're going to look. So, for example, this was funny to me because when I just really started to find peace in every scenario that I was in, I began to realize that I had to really stop caring about what people thought. And God gave us some very, like, when you are sincere and serious about understanding more of the character of God, then heaven is going to provide you with those scenarios that are going to educate you and edify you in those in those characteristics, those concepts, so that you don't have any question. Like, in order to be a powerful teacher, in order to be a powerful leader, you can only take people as deeply as
You
you
have been.
yourself have gone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not willing to walk the walk, then you are not capable of helping anyone else. And that is what this peace journey is. Um, I'm sure that God has put you in situations that, well, I can only speak for me. God has put me in situations that when I share the situations, people will be like, "Oh no, I'm happy God didn't give me that one. No, I couldn't.
Oh, oh yes, ma'am.
That
I
was,
have been.
you
Mhm.
know by people's reactions that this is your responsibility. Like this is yours to do. Like when I hear people that have like horrific stories, people that have horrific, um, how can I put it, circumstances, I get excited because I'm like, this is yours to do.
Mhm.
This is
Mhm.
yours to do. Hey there. Hey
Mhm.
Cherie. Hey Glenn. How are you?
It is. When I think about let's talk about money. Since you're doing the money challenge, let's talk about how when we think about how unhappy and how unpeaceful things can come when your money's a little funny and your change is a little strange, and you're trying to operate in this world where prices are going up, nothing is getting any easier, um, and it quickly can rob you of your peace when you're thinking about the mortgage has got to be due. I've got children in school. I have education to pay for. I've got medical bills to deal with. Um, I may even be worried about what may be happening on the job.
Hmm.
How do we find ourselves to anchor in that peace so that we can hear? And we talked about this a couple of shows ago. We can hear God and not miss our miracles in the midst of what may be an unpeaceable situation.
Hmm. You want me to jump in now, or
Hey, look, we got a bunch of stories to tell. Let's go ahead and let's help each other.
so finding peace in your finance, like that? Okay, finances are a truth teller.
Yes, they are.
Finances, money is a truth teller. Money is a truth teller, and I am so excited that God taught me this and helped me to understand. I use money as a gauge of people's character. I use money as a gauge. It's a lie detector. Like it helps you with so many things when you learn how to frame it properly. Unfortunately, most people are so impatient with their money and are so not at peace with their finances that they never really put their finger on the pulse of what money really is designed for and how to use it. And I was that person. I was that person. And when God began to show me how to maneuver um, finances in a peaceful way, it was a game changer. Because God had to begin to teach me that money is merely one form of provision, but the world
Mhm.
puts all of its weight in money. I have seen so many people miss opportunities, powerful opportunities, because the money wasn't right or because it wasn't enough. Like, the world messes a lot of people up, and this is where a lot of people lose their peace when they feel that people are being, when they feel they're being taken advantage of. And what does
Yes,
it sound like? I'm not going to do this because they obviously don't know my worth. They don't know. And so people fail to realize that we are all here as representatives of Christ. We are the hands, we are the feet, we are the body. So people can only do what heaven has released them to do. And so instead of taking issue with that person, you need to go to God.
hmm
God, what are you trying to teach me in this situation regarding my finances, my whatever it is? And when you change that perspective and you revamp, anytime you get angry with someone, like I never look at people anymore on earth as it is in heaven. For everything in the natural, there's a parallel and corresponding occurrence in the supernatural. Things here on earth don't phase me. Things here on earth don't move me, because by virtue of the fact that they're here on earth, they've already done what they're supposed to do in heaven. So it's just coming here now to complete the process. And
my
so when I have an argument here with someone here on earth, that's an indicator that this has already happened on a spiritual level.
Wait a minute. Stop. Okay, you just set me free by 5, 6 times. So you're saying that because it has already manifested in the natural, that it already took care of itself in the spirit. So, and I want to pivot real quick. How does that change our prayers with that understanding? Because, and I know you just said part of it, because we'll see stuff manifest here and then we'll run to God, oh my God, fix it.
Mm. Oh, see, I
Oh
don't. I
God,
don't.
I need
I had
you
to
to
learn.
change it.
I had to learn. I don't waste my time with those prayers. I don't. I used to be that type of person where I'm always fighting things that I see. So I learned this through our marriage journey. I learned this through our parenting journey. I learned this through all of those scenarios that we're saying that God puts you through to teach you stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I learned, honey, I pray in advance. I
My
don't
Lord.
pray for what I, how can I say? I don't pray for anything that I don't pray for anything that's gonna happen this week. I don't pray for what's gonna happen tomorrow. Like tomorrow is already established. Friday is already established. Next week is already established. It's it has the transfer from heaven to earth. So I learned this when Mike and I were going through. God was like, because I kept fighting with him. I kept fussing with him. I kept cutting buttons off his shirts. I kept slashing his everything. I was reducing and restricting and limiting my power because I was so focused on what I thought I saw that I
My
was
Lord.
not getting ahead of the situation. And God taught me this with that journal. God says you've got to pray this in advance. You've got to do this in advance. And so was I kind of wisened up, if that's a word, every time like Mike would leave out, God said, now take your journal and only write what I tell you to write. Only say what I tell you to say. Only see what I tell you to see. Because heaven wants to show you in advance what is going on in heaven so that when it comes to earth, it's merely a confirmation of what heaven has already shown you.
That's
Most
so powerful.
don't have enough patience to find the peace. See, that's how heaven talks to us. Heaven speaks to us in a very peaceful tone. Heaven speaks to us in a still small voice. And in order to be able to match that energy, if you will, you have to become peace.
Mm.
Heaven is whispering to you and you screaming. Like I would miss so many messages that heaven wanted to get to me because I'm having a tantrum on my living room floor. And the only time I could hear God was when I was too tired. Like, how you have your little tantrum,
Yes.
you kick and you scream, and then you're like, okay, I'm tired now. And then God can talk to you. That was the only time.
Mm-hmm.
But when I
Mm-hmm.
learned to live in that space, everything changed.
Mm-hmm. And it makes a difference because I remember those moments, and then God would be like, "You done? Like, go ahead and get it all out. Okay, now we can get back to business. Like, okay, now you ready to listen. Praying it in advance,
Yes, ma'am.
my Lord, and that's truly walking in the Spirit, and
Yes,
that's truly walking in a place of peace because you're not living in your yesterday, and you're receiving what's already present in the moment. And God is allowing you to see what is to come. So therefore, you're not caught off guard and you're not overwhelmed. And that's a whole nother level of wisdom because peace breeds wisdom. and you find yourself being able to navigate the world, your finances, your relationships, the people on your job that you know not right, or whatever may be happening, stuff in your family that's going on because you've allowed yourself to be grounded in peace.
Mhm.
You gain a greater degree of discernment and wisdom
Mhm.
to stay ahead of and put distance between you and the enemy.
And you don't have to pivot as much. You don't have to pivot at all. When you're praying in advance, you don't have to pivot. When you are operating in the world system, you always have to keep your ear to the ground. You always have to keep your ear to what's going on in the world. But when you are doing things in advance, even though it may look like you're losing in the world, just hang on. I share this story. Um, it was years ago. We were playing that. It was a game, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It was Robert Kiyosaki's game. It's like Monopoly, but it's based on his book. And I was losing bad. I was losing. I want to tell you, I pray for everything. I pray for everything. I pray when I'm cooking. I pray when I'm combing my hair. I pray. I'm just like, oh, Lord, just show me which way I'm supposed to go. So I was in this game. It was so embarrassing that Mike didn't even want to tell anybody at the table I was his wife. Like, it's like, who's that over there? Like, oh my God. So we got to the place where I did. I said a little prayer during the game. I said, Lord, this don't even look right. And this is how bad it was. I had to go pick my children up, and people knew I was losing so bad. They didn't want to like go on without me, so they said, "Just go on, get your children, and we'll just take a break to eat, and then when you come back, we'll finish the game." Poor little Tink, she losing. Let her just. I got in my car. And I was like, God, I really want to win this game. Like, I want to show them, Lord, show them what you working with, show them what you do. I'm like low key kind of competitive anyway. So I get back, I drop my children off, I go back and I sit down. And so everyone, I grab something to eat. And this was funny. That peace that surpasses all understanding. God cares about everything that affects you and concerns you, even if it's a board game. It don't matter what it
It
is.
don't matter.
It don't matter. So I'm sitting there and it was my turn. Roll the die. And it was like, this was the choice. Either take the little bit of money that you have and invest it or give it to charity.
Wow.
And I said, oh, okay. And everybody's like, well, now if you invest it here, then this has a good return here. Everybody was telling me what to do. I was like, oh, okay. And I started laughing because in my spirit, I knew I could see the whole game turn. I could see it. I said, no, I'm going to give it all. They said, all of it? And then Mike sitting on the other side of the table like, oh my God. He was like, all of it? I said, just give it all. I'm going to give it all. When I tell you that game turned around, I didn't even know what was happening. At the end, people were cashing out. They were so mad. Like, it was just a few people left playing at the end. And I was sitting up there. I can't tell you what happened. I can't tell you how it happened. I can tell you who made it happen. And that was a very powerful lesson to me. Do not follow the crowd.
When I tell you that is so powerful, because oftentimes we will be at peace with a situation and we give our ear to everybody around us and we go a completely different direction.
Even your spouse. That was
Ooh.
the part that really solidified everything for me. God was like, I am the head. Like, regardless, in every situation, I I didn't. This was between me and God. I didn't consult Mike. I mean, it was a board game. Okay, it was like, oh, it was a
Right.
board game. And normally, you sit there and you're like, well, they're smarter than me. They've been playing this game. And normally you would lean into I've never played this game before. That was the other thing. This was my first time playing the game. So it
Uh,
would make sense for me to listen to somebody who has the game, who's played the game many times, who's won the game. And God said, you have a choice to make.
hmm.
And this is how peace levels the playing field.
My.
You are not, I learned this in high school. I was one of five African Americans in the school. Following peace, this was the funniest thing to me. Following the peace, the still small voice, that God voice, I ended up being student body vice president by accident. Like it was so smooth. It was hilarious. I followed that piece, that voice, all the way through to the end, and that changed my entire life.
Wow.
That helped me to understand that it doesn't matter what the odds look like, as long as you're following the right voice.
Hmm.
I have
That's
story after story after story after story. And it does not make sense to the rational mind.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
And God specializes in making you look stupid. Let me be the first one to tell you. God special.
There's sometimes I'm not gonna say afraid. I'm very cautious of what stories I share for the listening ear, because I know that there are times when you share a story and you have questions, and you have to just look at them and say, I don't have an answer for that. It just happened that way. I don't have an answer. You had to experience it to understand it. And even when you're in a situation where now I'm gonna switch to this one.
Mhm.
Once you get your piece established, that is your gauge for also in a place of discernment to know when
Yes.
something is not right.
Yes. See, see, that's the thing. When heaven solidifies that peaceful, or that peace gauge, when heaven solidifies that within you, and you have enough experiences under your belt, and you have enough of a track record, heaven holds you to a different standard now.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to become responsible for that peace.
Mm-hmm.
Can we say Dallas? Can we say
Oh,
can we say, honey, I look crazy the whole time. I look crazy I even look crazy to myself sometimes. I'm like, oh my gosh. But that test right there is nothing you can tell me that you can't do. Katrina Henderson. Ah!
I know, right? Oh my God. Congratulations to Katrina Henderson, a part of the 1212 community, at her first live event this past weekend. And I know it was absolutely amazing.
Amazing.
So,
Dr.
congratulations to you,
Vicky,
Katrina.
Dr. Vicky Johnson. That's all we gotta say.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Dr. Vicky Johnson. That's all you gotta say.
That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say. Absolutely amazing. You all, when we had the conference in Dallas, mind you, the year before we had it in Baltimore,
In Bowie, in Maryland.
in Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
and we had the next year in Dallas. Even for everyone that participated in the conference, and I was blessed enough to be one of the speakers, the whole process to even get there. One, we were going to the Omni in Dallas, so that's a whole nother situation by itself. to even get there and everything that led up to it was all such an amazing experience. For it all to unfold out of being obedient, listening to God, and being at peace with what God said, even though it was a huge leap from where we were to where we were going. And see, like, let's talk about peace now. When God is moving you and transitioning you in different places, we can easily give our peace away because this is not that God. I know what happened on that level. Not only is he sending you somewhere, he's giving you another place to go and he's upgrading you at the same time. Come on, y'all. Let's talk about it. He's upgrading you at the same time. You can start shaking in your boots because you know, okay, God, the money don't line up with what's happening. It takes a lot more planning and putting together. We're on a whole different scale of responsibility of what
Oh
it
my
looks like.
God.
And God, I'm going off of what you said. And
Honey,
I have to anchor myself in that peace because I have to put my trust in the fact that you are in control of everything that's happening. At least I'm gonna give the floor to you. It's amazing.
honey, once it's like, they have a sonic boom. You know how the
Oh
sound
yes,
area.
yes, 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 yes.
Once you break through to that next level of understanding,
It's no turning back.
you can't go back. You can't go back. Like, it was funny because right after that conference was when Mike started his, treatment. That in and of itself was hilarious. God was like, "Do you think I can do everything that I did in Dallas and not handle this? Do you think like everything that kept? I mean, we walked through that thing like Mike and I. We'd be looking at each other like, well, we saw what happened there, so this ain't nothing, So when God gives you that peace that surpasses all understanding, it's gonna confuse everybody. It's going to confuse the doctors. It's going to confuse the lawyers. It's going to confuse the people in authority. It's going to confuse everyone. And that's how you know that you're operating in God's zone of genius. Because it
Mm,
don't make sense to nobody.
no.
See, when it starts to make sense, that's when I know I'm slipping out of that protection. When I can start to wrap my brain around it, then I know that I'm starting to drift lower than I should. When
Mhm.
I start to connect with it and I start, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing here. Then
Mhm.
I know that I need to up my faith. And when heaven does that, then it now becomes, see, that's the only thing that you have to understand. And this is why a lot of people don't want to do what heaven requires them to do, because that then makes you responsible.
Yes.
And see, heaven doesn't just bless you. And God taught me this many years ago. God said, "You think I healed your marriage so you and your family can have the best barbecues on the block, so you can have the cute family pictures." So God said, "You think that I did that for that reason? Oh, you are sorely mistaken."
Mhm.
So when heaven does a great thing or great things or many things in your life, then you have to know, like, tag, you're it.
Mhm.
And see, a lot of people are playing. A lot of people want you to think that they have been entrusted with these assignments, but they really haven't. And what does that look like? People going out on the grant. With this is one thing I do know about God. God does not showboat.
No.
When heaven is serious about the work, honey, when this how you know that it's a God thing. Like you said, you can't even put all the pieces together. Like you still trying to figure it out. You're still connecting the blessings. You're still connecting the dots. And by the time you realize what's happening, it's done.
Hmm.
Because you've been so actively involved in the process that you didn't have time. You didn't even know that it should have been recorded. If you have the wherewithal to say that get me at this angle right here, then that's not God. If you have the wherewithal to say, okay, when she walks through that room, then catch it right here, then you're not truly operating in the full capacity of what heaven needs you to understand, because God is a God of the secret places. The basket, I shared that story. This was so powerful. This is how fast Mike got like a little clip of it. Like by the time we were so caught up in that vortex, we were so caught up in it that we didn't even realize what was happening. And so by the time we realized what was happening, Mike's quick with his camera. He said, "Oh, I gotta get this." And by the time he got it, it was just a little blip. But when heaven seals the deal, heaven is gonna have evidence and fingerprints all throughout the process. And I knew that whole Dallas thing was all God, because it lasted all the way through the conference till the end, till we got back full circle. Full circle. And I think Roz had got, because it was my birthday weekend, and Roz had gotten me this like beautiful basket. And I was torn because I didn't want to leave the basket. I was like, oh my God, this basket is beautiful. And my daughter and Mike, they were like, well, you have to get rid of it. A decision must be made. So I'm leaving the hotel with the basket. I'm in the Uber with the basket. I'm at the airport now with the basket. We passing all of these trash receptacles. I said, I can't get rid of this basket. So they made me take everything out of the basket and put it in my luggage. And I'm still carrying the basket through the airport. And
My God.
a decision has to be made. What are you going to do with this? Oh my God. Oh, girl, I'm getting chills thinking about it. As soon as when I get to heaven, this woman's going to be standing up there. She's going to be one, like, you remember me? I was one of the angels. Mike, when I tell you she zoomed in on that basket. She zoomed in on that basket. And she said, oh, what a lovely basket. And I looked at Mike, and Mike looked at me, and she said, can I have it? I was like, what? She said, I've been looking for a nice present for my daughter, for my granddaughter, and this would be perfect. I looked
Oh
at Mike,
my
Mike
God.
looked at me. I was like, and then she said, I'll pay you for it. I said, I wish you would. I'm like, this basket is anointed. I was like, honey, take this basket, okay? And then she said, because I had a few snacks in there. I said, well, God didn't tell you I had to give you the snacks. She started laughing. I said, you can have the basket. I'm going to keep the snacks. And she was like an angel. You know how I've had this experience enough times to know it's something about the eyes.
Yes, ma'am.
When you have
Oh,
experienced an angel, it's something about the
wow.
eyes. You could tell like she was maybe a little like delayed. Like she was, it was a job that she could handle. And but when I looked into that woman's eyes, I was like, oh, you ain't fooling me with all of this. Like this is a disguise right here. I looked in her eyes. I was like, okay.
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, this is an angel. And that's how God sealed up that whole trip.
Wow.
That whole trip. I gotta find that little clip of that video. Mike got it, and we were all in. We were in line, like going to. We were me and Mike. What just happened? Like the whole weekend. That's how we were. The whole. What just happened? Because when you follow that peace, Like
Mhm.
I knew with that, I gotta hold on to this basket. I know it don't make sense. I know it's big. I know it's bulky. I know I can't carry it on the plane. I know. But I don't have the peace to just throw it away. I just can't do it. I have the peace to hang on to it. I have the peace to know that there's a purpose for it. I have the peace. You have to follow that peace through to the end. You are responsible for following that piece through to the end. Not your spouse, not your children, not your boss, not your priest, not your rabbi, not the mother of the church. If God has bestowed that peace upon you, it is your responsibility to see it through to the end.
That's powerful. That is so powerful. Because oftentimes we will try to get everybody else's opinion.
And
To
co-signature.
co-sign, yep, to validate. When God gives you his peace, that's it, that's all. You ride it all the way out. And even to the point that we made earlier, when your peace has been established, when something bumps up against that peace, that's when you have to be like, wait a minute, something else is going on that I need to pay attention to, because I know my peace is solid. The vision that I saw when it says the peace of God that surpasses all understanding shall guard your heart and your mind, I
Mm,
see two soldiers standing at the door of my peace.
my God.
And if you come, see, peace is going to handle you, or if it's supposed to be, you'll get past the door. And if you get past the door, then it's my level of responsibility at that point. But you've got to get past the guards first.
Amen.
Because when my peace, when anything comes up against my peace, that in itself is not only for me to have, but it's also a source of protection.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
also a source of power, wisdom, discernment, and it can also serve as a place of war if I have to,
Yeah.
depend upon what's coming at it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Peace. Peace gives you the confidence to say what needs to be said.
Oh yes.
Peace gives you the ability to circumvent like physical limitations. Like for example, a lot of times, honey, I love a good nap. I mean, I do. Don't get me wrong, but if God is giving me something to do, the peace that I have about that thing will give me the strength to continue on, to break habits. To peace is a habit breaker. Like when you
Yes.
follow peace, it gives you the strength, it gives you the creativity. Peace will let you know, like when heaven gives you an assignment, that assignment will be fulfilled
Mm.
regardless of what you feel your limitations are. Peace will help you to know that I need to keep pursuing because whatever I need is going to be presented at the appropriate time. Like peace, everything. It's amazing. I never forget, especially when we were going through, because literally when I tell you like the situation with Mike, it hit us like a ton of bricks
Mhm.
because I make good money, but Mike was he makes more money than me. So it was very, how can I put it? It was devastating. It was like, okay, we down to like half of a, oh, okay,
Mhm.
all right, and I like to keep my business separate than my, personal for obvious reasons, but it was like, okay, God, what are we doing here?
Mhm.
Because peace helped me to understand that everything was going to be okay.
Mhm.
Peace helped me to understand that the way that we found out about Mike's condition was God, all by God's self. Like, I'm sitting at my desk peacefully doing my work after my surgery, and God's like, make doctor's appointments. And I'm rationalizing like, honey, I have been checked from the Rudy to the Tootie. Everything is good
Mhm.
with me. They have checked everything. I have been, cleared. I'm good to go.
Mhm.
But I couldn't get settled and comfortable with that, the peace wouldn't come. And God said, what did I say? Make appointments for both of you. And see, God does that sometimes, will give you a piece of it that will make sense to you so that you continue on. If God had told me to just make an appointment for Mike, I would have been like, he can make his own appointment. I ain't his secretary. He does all his other appointments. And God said, make them for both of you.
Mhm.
I said, okay.
Mhm.
And once I made the appointment, then I had peace. And I went
Mhm.
right on back to doing what I need to do. Heaven gives you
Unction.
that unction, that gift, that that the Holy Spirit to help you to circumvent all of life's obstacles.
Mhm.
Life doesn't have to be as hard as most people purport it to be. When life gets hard, that helps me to realize that you have missed a lot of messages.
Mhm.
Because for us, I know for a fact that had I missed that message, Mike got a message too. This was how powerful this message was. This is how powerful that peace. God was like, something is coming, but I want you to get ahead of it because I know what it will do if you fail to listen. So God had put safety nets in there. So
Yes.
appointment that I made, even if I had failed to make that appointment, Mike had also had an eye appointment that the eye doctor had given him notice and said, you need to follow up with your primary care physician. So even if I had fumbled, heaven said, I got something there. Now, if I had fumbled and Mike had fumbled, then the situation would have become dire, and then we would have sounded like it's always something.
Mhm.
The enemy is so busy.
Mhm.
It just does not make, and we would have been fighting the scenario versus fighting with God, like guiding us. There's a difference there. You want to fight the battle with the the best and the most powerful resources. The battle is going to come. The trouble is going to come, but you
Definitely.
be on the right side of the trouble.
Correct.
And because
Correct.
you were on the right side of the trouble, honey, that gave me even more desire to be radically obedient.
Oh, definitely. And it will literally change your life.
Your whole life. Your whole life.
Mhm. Because when you have grounded yourself in God's peace, it will literally save your life. I am a witness to that as well because when I was going for a routine surgery
Hmm.
and had to make a decision of what kind of surgery to have, but I
Okay.
never talked to anybody about it.
Right.
He was like, don't talk to, you don't have to get nobody's opinion. Just, he said, I need you to be so quiet that you can feel the smallest nudge from me. He said, just quiet down. I stayed quiet. I didn't talk about it. I didn't bring it up. I didn't say anything about it. I didn't speak about it. I just knew I had to have surgery. And I was like, my prayer was, God, well, which kind do I need to have? Because I had an option.
Mm,
It was either to have a partial or just to have the fibroids removed,
mm,
right?
mhm.
And I was like, well, God, well, I don't know what to, and it wasn't until I signed in for the surgery that God told me have the partial. Because I was just gonna have the fibroids removed because I thought I was gonna have, I just do it this way. It's just simple. He said have the partial. It was I was signing my name, and God gave me the confirmation when I was signing my name, signing in that morning.
My God.
And the doctor asked me, and he was a Christian, by the way, which is a blessing in itself. And we prayed together. I said, Doctor, I'm gonna go ahead and have the partial. He said, okay. He said, "You sure?" I said, "Yes." I had peace,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing what was going to come of it.
My God.
So I go to the doctor for a checkup, and I'm walking in. He said, "I just got your pathology report back." I said, "Okay." He said, "You look real good." I said, "I appreciate that." He said, "We found cancer."
My God.
I said, "Wait a minute, you found what?"
My
At
God.
that moment, fear tries to come in, but God said, "Do, do, do, do." His peace wiped it out. He said, "Listen." He said, "But we got it all."
My God.
I said, "So you're telling me if I had not had the surgery that I had," he said, "No, we would have never found it." He said, "You would have been 60 years old with ovarian cancer at that point."
My God.
He said it had just started,
My God.
like within 2% of the lining, and they found it during the pathology report. So here I am today, to God be the glory, 8 years cancer free, no chemotherapy, no radiation.
My God.
Only the obedience of God and listening and being staying in a peaceful state to hear him speak.
Amen. Amen.
So when life is so busy and so many things are happening, you feel like so many things are coming at you. Ground yourself in the true peace of God and watch him
Mm.
do miracles in your life.
Hallelujah. Mm. My God.
So you all, that's it. That's all for tonight. We have come up on our time. Alicia's always.
Mm.
Thank you so much for being here with me. Next week, we're going to be celebrating 1 year of
Yay!
Evolve and Elevate with Erica. It started on Juneteenth last year, but we're going to celebrate on this coming Monday. We ask that you round up all your friends, join us, and I'm going to put a link out there. If you would like to be a part of the broadcast, if you'd like to share how this has blessed you, please sign up so that you can be a part. I can send you all the information. And I greatly appreciate everybody's support. I greatly appreciate everybody's prayers. And I greatly appreciate everyone that watches. So please continue to subscribe as we continue to grow. I greatly appreciate you all. And as we share, understand it's all about us being better each and every day as we evolve and we elevate and we grow to be a better version of ourselves and doing exactly what God has called us to do. We love you all and we thank you for being with us. Have a great